Yo, yo, yo.
This is the first time we're doing a video component.
I know, we up in the technology, guys.
Yes, sir. I mean, we got time on our hands, so we want to put forth good efforts for the people. So, and a reminder to new folks, this is Noshad,
My name is Sunil.
right on, and yeah, hopefully the visual comes through and we can show our smiling faces to the world.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, it's been about a week, I think, since we last checked in.
Yeah, man. So it's week 2 of the quarantine diaries of the podcast.
Right. It's foreign territory. It's like a social experiment almost,
It
right?
is, man. Definitely something different that neither of us have probably experienced and probably nobody's really experienced on this level. So it's cool. We're adjusting. But I guess, what we were talking about it yesterday is like just kind of how much this time, I guess, alone in our houses or, just being confined to the home, you start appreciating all of those things that, you were able to do that you're not able to do now. So we thought it'd be a cool little idea to go back and forth about, what we're most excited about doing, after, once we're free of the quarantine.
I guess the appreciation of it, I think it's gonna get even stronger and stronger as this goes on. But in the early stages that we're in, I definitely have like a priority. Certain things that are just like irreplaceable experience. And yeah, man, I think the most precious thing, it's kind of sentimental, is I want to visit my grandmother. I want to give her a hug. That's something that is out of the question right now.
Right.
She's the most eldest person in our family, and we have to respect the boundaries that are in place right now for her safety, and it'll just be a very a great peace of mind, just to
For
have
sure.
that connection. But for now, we'll just stick to the FaceTime. And my mom actually visited and did one of the behind the screen door visits,
Hmm.
and
Keeping the
she
six
said,
foot minimum.
yeah, man, yeah, at least, right? And she was just saying, yeah, it was nice and like uh pleasant at first, but then my grandma started lecturing my mom and complaining to her about something. So it's like, even though things are different, a lot of it is the
It's
spirit
still
of
the same,
the
right?
situation is the same, and
Nah, I
people
mean, I
are.
think that's. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, man, yeah, I was just gonna say that I was listening to a comic. It was actually one of Chris D'Elia's not even a cameo. He just had a snippet of another comic who developed COVID-19,
Uh-huh.
and he was very close to death and talking about just the experience being away from his family and thinking he might die alone. And his last pieces of advice, he did survive, thankfully. One of his advices was, laughter is the best medicine for this. And that really resonated with me. So um, you have to have a sense of humor about, when it's appropriate, right? You gotta have a sense of humor about this.
Hmm.
Just to keep mentally, sane. But yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off as well. I'm
No,
sorry.
man, I was just gonna follow up because for sure for me, my parents I haven't been able to visit since quarantine, and obviously my parents are above the age threshold as well, so
Right.
I've been staying away from them. So definitely, once all this stuff clears up, I got to make a trip back home and get some of that home cooking and home hugging like you were talking about from my
Yeah,
parents.
man.
And to keep it on like the kind of like sentimental and just like personal importance and stuff like that. For me, I'm somebody that goes to the temple once a week, and I haven't been
Right.
able to do that. So that's something that definitely has been, not that not, I mean, everything's thrown off the routine, but definitely that is something that rejuvenates me at the beginning of the week that I usually go, and haven't been able to go do that. So, I've definitely got to make a trip to the temple as soon as all this stuff clears up,
Yeah, man.
because that's important
That's yeah, on God, literally. Like, that's on God. It doesn't get any more well intentioned than that, and it's actually so critical, right? Because
for sure.
you need to have faith at this time. I'm glad you mentioned that. Our weekly prayers at Jummah on Fridays, we normally would go, have been canceled for however many weeks it's been.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's funny. On Fridays, I do feel like a little bit like void of something, and that's what it is. And it's funny because you're supposed to shake hands at the end of the prayer with whoever you're praying alongside, and that's like exactly one of the dangerous things to be doing
Right.
right now.
Or just being
Uh,
like so
if you
close to as
congregated,
many
yeah,
people. And,
shoulder to shoulder or whatever,
right.
and that actually reminded me of something. It's a beautiful and bittersweet clip I saw in, I think, Qatar, which is not really known for many like warm-hearted stories. But they on Fridays before that prayer, which is around the afternoon, there's uh, like a call to prayer over speakers. You may have
Hmm.
seen it in like other videos and movies and things. And so the translation, there's one section where it goes, all of you, please come to the prayer, come to the prayer. That phrase has been said for thousands of years, right? So
Hmm.
it usually is always stated that way, but in times like when there's a huge global issue, uh the lyric is changed to another version that says, please, all of you, stay at home, stay at home.
Oh wow.
And it hits very hard when he's reciting it, because you can hear his throat is he's breaking up and crying. And that was the first time I think it hit home for me, because it was actually weeks before we were emergency mode. So
Uh,
it's kind of like foreign. I was like, yeah, why is it so sad? And then now I'm realizing the magnitude of it.
right. I,
It's
I
like it's a
think for
sign of the
me,
times.
it's kind of just like feeling a little disconnected. Um, Not that, obviously faith is, you don't necessarily need to be in the temple or in the mosque or gurdwara or whatever church to feel connected to God, or to pray or whatnot. But I don't know, for some reason, like that routine or being able to go there once a week, it's just a different feeling being inside the temple than just, being in the house, I guess. So that's
Yeah,
definitely something
man.
that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Once we're off quarantine.
Yeah, man. So yeah, Lord willing, that happens as soon as possible, and there's no threats of getting sick out there. Um, but yeah, man, I could swing it a different direction, something
Now
silly.
let's get
I
heathenish.
it's it's like an appetizer, literally an appetizer. I have a huge like not a it's a guilty pleasure, I guess, where if I need to run to the grocery store, sometimes I'll do it just for one item, and it's usually like a dessert. um,
That
so
sweet
like
tooth.
like a late night ice cream run or whatever, like cookies or cake, or any kind of anything with sugar. And
Uh-huh.
so not having that convenient, like I think the all the big stores are closing at 8 p.m. here. And even then, it's a huge headache to get into this line outside. So
Right,
just the convenience, man. I miss being able to just dip out and grab some whatever. And
right. You just got to
I think
pre-plan and just stock up in the
exactly,
fridge or the freezer.
yeah, man. And then I think that goes tandem with another one of my guilty pleasures is like late night donut runs as well.
Oh man.
Uh, I'm a sucker for donuts, and I don't know, the
Yeah.
shops are probably open, but
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know if
wait it
they're
out.
open 24 hours anymore. I definitely know
Exactly.
donut shops are open, but I don't know if they're open 24 hours like they usually are. It wouldn't make sense for
Right.
them to be open that long.
Yeah, man. So once these things return,
For sure.
I'll
The
be
little things.
satisfying.
The little things.
Yeah, man. But shout out to all the donut shop spots. I'm a regular at a
um,
bunch of them.
yeah, so for me, I put on my list, man. I really miss the NBA right now. Like, I can't
Oh
wait for
yeah,
the NBA to be back. Obviously with our Lakers flying and soaring high. Going
that
like
momentum.
they were having that momentum. Yeah, beating obviously the Clippers and Milwaukee, and
Milwaukee. Oof.
which were big wins going into the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited for just, I guess, sports in general right now. Obviously all the sports talk shows are still on, and they're like
Yeah.
fabricating news as much as possible. But
Right. It's
being
news about
able
news.
exactly, to see the highlights again, and to be able to, like, bet and gamble on sports, and fantasy sports and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
I didn't know. Oh,
Um,
you like to wager
yeah,
on
man,
games
I do
that you have a good
DraftKings.
feeling about?
I do
Oh, that's what's
DraftKings.
up.
Yeah, so it's kind of like fantasy basketball where I just
Right.
bet like $1. But
Sure,
yeah,
yeah,
so it's
but
cool to
it
just
makes you
like
pay attention. It makes you pay attention to
yeah,
which teams are hot and I guess whoever's favored.
for sure. And it's
Um,
just a fun thing to do for me. And yeah, just watching the games and all that
right.
kind of stuff. I can't wait for that to be back. So
If I'm
definitely
not
miss the
mistaken,
NBA,
April is usually the playoff time, right? Or middle of April will be playoffs.
right?
Or so yeah, man. And it sucks because we had such great chemistry at that time.
Hmm.
Um, and guys were healthy. And I mean, it's sad to say, but it's probably our best shot at winning a title, and
But the silver lining is, and I forget who somebody on Twitter said this. It might have been Kendrick Perkins or somebody, but basically talking about how everybody's getting healthy right now from every team.
right,
So they were talking about how the playoffs are going to be insane because all the stars are going to be healthy.
max
Everybody's going to
out,
be rested. So like energy wise, it's not going to be like a normal playoff where everybody's kind of
worn out from
depleted.
the season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
worn out, little nagging injuries and all that kind of stuff. They're going to
people will be
have
playing high minutes. Yeah,
for sure. They're going to have 6 to 8 weeks off, where everybody's just rejuvenated, healthy, and they're going to be excited to play basketball again. So
yeah.
it'll probably be
This
like the best playoffs that we've seen in a while.
I hope so. I listened to LeBron. I think he came on Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye's podcast.
Hmm.
And he was saying counterintuitive to that. He was saying he doesn't like this much rest. He was really because his body is like a tank or something, right? So it's like that warm up for him to like be performing at a high level. He claims that he'd rather have the run of 82 games leading up to the playoffs. And I mean, I think he was saying he needs at least 9 or 10 games before he can be in playoff mode.
Gotcha.
Um, but you know, I think it's
You
a
better
good
figure it
equalizer.
out.
It's a good equalizer for 8 seed and up, or whoever's fighting for 8 seed and up, because I think they're the ones who are gonna really capitalize. And I mean, I
Well, I
think
think just in
Clippers too,
general, like
right?
you look at the playoffs last year, with Golden State basically having everybody get injured and all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
they could have thrived in this
Yeah,
situation.
it kind
Yeah,
of ruined the playoffs as far as the championship for them at least.
right.
And this upcoming playoffs, it's gonna basically be the best team is gonna win. It's not gonna be because this
Who
star
got
was injured or that
lucked out
star was
on the
injured or
timing and things. Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
agree.
it's gonna be cool. And the good thing is, obviously the teams that really focused in on the regular season are going to benefit. The teams that took the regular season for granted, maybe some of
Hmm.
those, if they cut the season short, maybe some of those teams that thought they were going to turn it on at the end of the year to make a higher seed or even make the playoffs, now
Hmm.
they're going to be out of it. So um, it's going to be cool. I think it's going to benefit, obviously, but just coming back and being able to get excited about the NBA and watching games all the time is something that
Right.
I'm ready
It's
for, and sports in general.
yeah, I mean, I think that also like I remember you talked about 9/11 on our last episode. You
Hmm.
mentioned that was a great uh tragedy that, shocked the world. But
Or brought the
the
country together.
sure, yeah, and the I guess the regular or the normalcy of being able to watch a game is very comforting for people, right?
Right.
And that's been taken away, which, I think in these situations when everyone is scared, we would lean on sports. So,
Sure.
um
And
yeah,
I think in
sports,
during that year, I think the Yankees and the Patriots won
right.
the
And
championship.
that was like, yeah, it was America's teams.
Yeah.
You just need the Cowboys to take home but and I guess the Lakers are America's team too, maybe.
Well, well, you take the names, so the Yankees are like
Oh, right.
specific to the U.S., like that was what they
Sure.
called us, and the Patriots, patriotic and stuff like that. So those
Okay,
specific
yeah.
names, not necessarily
Yeah.
teams,
My
but
bad.
just
Yeah,
the names.
then I don't think the NBA had I mean, the Sixers maybe, the 76ers have a connection.
Yeah.
But
Nah, Lake Show
yeah,
this year.
man. Yeah, our flag is purple and gold.
So what else is on
But
your list, man?
yeah,
What else are
man.
you excited about?
Tandem with that is also running basketball games. I, you know, five on
The gym
five
in general, right?
gym, yeah, just recreational activity. Going for these runs occasionally. Even I'm like a little iffy about them because I still kind of passing by people,
Hmm.
and I doing home workouts. I mean I was doing a lot of that before too, but just being able to run and you know I love the competitiveness of a basketball game. Especially at our age, like how many areas do you feel like it's socially acceptable to be very aggressive, like drive to like with your body and your mentality, like I guess you can be passive aggressive in certain situations, but I don't have a venue to let a little aggression out, so
Right.
it's a kind of like a primal effect. But yeah, and then obviously just like feeling the jump shot, just it's very therapeutic to just shoot a ball through a hoop. And I guess I could do that, but it's just, it's all the environment, everything. It all adds up to just this awesome experience that it's
Yeah, just the internet action and all that kind of stuff. I think just working out in general, just being able to, walk around and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be interesting to see, run into people after, all this because it's going to go two ways. People are either going to gain a lot of weight or, maintain kind of
Mhm.
thing because, you know, just natural inactivity, obviously, bodies burning less calories. And then, we were talking about how people just get bored and eat and, you
Right.
know, pack on the COVID pounds. I think you called it last time, quarantine pounds.
I guess the COVID 15, but it would actually be the COVID 19. You put on 19 pounds and that would work.
Right.
Um,
So just in general, just like being able to get back working out and in a normal routine, I think obviously, at the gym and all these Instagram models, man, they got nowhere to show off their workouts and all that kind of stuff now. So
yeah, man.
uh,
I thought about the Instagram, especially the models and those accounts that are just based on like locations. You gotta be taking pictures in front of this with your
hmm.
swimsuit on, or just with your camping, whatever it is, and how much of a hit. I mean, obviously a lot of industries taking hits, but just kind of on a because it's I guess if I'm gonna be frank, it's a superficial world,
Sure.
and I guess I take a little bit of humor. It's kind of like and then, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess everyone's job is on a scale of essential to non-essential. Everyone has a level of essentialness,
Right.
essentiality.
Nah, man, now
Um,
it's all TikTok, man. They
yeah,
bored in the
TikTok is
house, they in the house
crazy.
bored. Bored in the house, I'm in the house bored.
Hey, okay. No, it honestly is, man. I think I tried dabbling in because the videos show up on my other platforms.
Yeah.
And I think I went and looked at like three of them in a row, and I just said, "Holy shit! Like I need to decompress." Like it was just, it's
It was
like it's
probably the same song every single
it
time, right?
was, and it's weird. It's like a lot of hard hip hop songs. Like they was
Yeah.
just, and the people dancing to them,
Yeah.
they don't fit the criteria. I get or the
Yeah.
image that
If you think you could dance and you doing it on TikTok, that doesn't necessarily mean you could dance, right?
right. Yeah, man. But whatever
Speaking of
makes the people
dancing
happy,
though,
man. Oh, there you
speaking of
go. Yeah,
dancing
that's
though,
on my
bro,
list. That's on my
mad
list.
heathenist, right? The clubs. And you know what's
Yeah,
gonna
man.
be funny is the clubs are gonna be like insane because people have like been cooped in the house, not seeing random people, not being able to wild out and all that kind of stuff. So that first week, I think of, when the clubs open up, I think could be crazy, right? Because
Uh,
it's just gonna
uh,
be
Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
no, I was just gonna say it's just gonna be like, people seeing new people for the first time after so
Right, right.
long, and like, just, you know, just I don't know. I think people are gonna be wild out. Maybe people aren't drinking as much as they used to drink, so
Oh,
they're
I mean,
gonna
right
their
now, no,
tolerance is gonna
alcohol
be
sales are up, bro. Like people are buying booze too, like in the
sure,
house. Like,
but I think just in general, like not knowing your tolerance levels and all that kind of stuff, like I think it could be crazy. So we'll see. My guess is that the first week of clubbing is gonna be insane in the clubs.
I mean, I'm very I think I'm a hypochondriac. I'm pretty close to a hypochondriac. Funny thing is, I think I mentioned to you earlier. I had a nightmare after the emergency declaration was made, and it was like the very next night. And the nightmare was I was in a bar, dark, sweaty bar, and these women were dancing with me. And that has never been a nightmare before. But, random women dancing and sweating with each other. Like I literally felt the COVID in my dream. It was
Oh
scary.
my gosh.
So that's why on the flip side, I am anxious about that first social taste again, but I might have my sanitizer in my pocket. I might just be like very selective. Like maybe
I
I
think
might
that's
even
going to
do
be a
the
way of life from this point on now. So I think, most people are, and it could be cool. Like every restaurant, every bar, they should have hand sanitizer there for
right,
everybody to use because, I think regardless of this, I think in general,
right,
the sanitation and washing your hands and, being aware of all that kind of stuff, I think is going to be important anyway. So maybe you
right.
you get you get a stamp at the club and you get some hand sanitizer as
True.
well, and maybe at
Yo,
the bar they have the big jug. So after you take a shot, you wash your hands as well. So
right. Yeah, there could be that. And then I was also thinking, so in a lot of Asian countries, they've been wearing the mask, right? Just
hmm
on a year, all 4 seasons, regardless of what's in the air, what is the fears. It might become normalized, and if people might turn into fashion statements. So you might just see a club full of like 70% mask wearing people, and the masks are gonna be glammed up. Some are gonna be Gucci. Some are gonna have rhinestone. Some are gonna
I'm
have,
already seeing those on my social
yeah,
media, man.
right. That's a business right there. Obviously the safety aspect of it, but then the fashion, like only right now I think high end people are like kind of going that route. But I think if like the virus is predicted to like stick around for several seasons in this country, then I think we may be looking at that as a potential. And I'm curious to see what it, color coordinate with the outfit. That's what I'm
Man,
thinking
so
about.
you think attraction's gonna change now? No longer it's gonna be about the smile and the way your face
It's
look.
the
It's just
eyes,
gonna be your
baby. It's the
eyes and your
eyes.
forehead,
Yo, it's
eyes,
like the Middle
forehead, and
East, baby.
edges.
Hey, uh,
That's funny.
Saudi status.
That's funny.
Um,
So yeah,
yeah,
what
you
else is
never
on your
know.
list, man?
So let's see what else I got on this thing. Playing ball, going to dance. And even it's funny. Like, I guess being able to drive. Like, I guess I can drive right now, but just driving with a purpose. Like, I used to love going on a drive somewhere, and the anticipation of reaching the destination. But right now, there's no destination except a grocery store. That's it.
Yeah,
And just having like a plan to look forward to just get in the car and move to and have good music playing.
or just be
Um,
able to drive and clear your mind.
yeah, I mean, I guess I could still do that, but it doesn't it feels a little lifeless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, man, it would just be
Although it is
nice.
kind of crazy to drive right now, especially in LA, because there's
Yeah,
no
the
traffic
freeways.
anywhere. So it's like
Right.
you actually driving, whereas, when everything, clears up, it's gonna go back to, the parking lots on the freeway and the highway. So
Right, man. Yeah, I haven't seen the 405 yet. But yeah, I guess it'd be interesting to just drive up and down that thing as
I saw
fast as
actually like somebody posted up some pictures of the overlooking LA and just like how much the
smog.
smog has cleared up and all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
man.
And
Silver linings.
I've been hearing some crazy birds all the time. Like birds are
Yeah.
just out and tweeting a lot more and
Right.
um,
The good kind of tweets.
yeah. And then I think even I saw like a photo somewhere in India where there's just like mad turtles on the beaches and stuff like that now
Okay.
because all the
Shout out to
beaches
the
are empty
cartoons.
and stuff. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like it's kind of cool like, obviously with people in the house, a lot of the, you know, um a lot of the nature has been able to kind of be nature
Restore,
again.
yeah, absolutely.
So
I think I every night when I step outside just to like get some air, I notice animals are just coming more frequently. Yeah, because there's less to be afraid of. I saw like a whole family of. Usually, it's one squirrel that hits up my yard, eats my avocados. This time, I saw a mommy squirrel, a daddy squirrel, and a baby squirrel, and they were
wow,
having a picnic. They were having a straight picnic on my
right.
lawn, and I let them. It's their place now.
Of course,
Um,
man.
but yeah, the the natural like restoration of it is it makes me feel like the earth got tired of these humans being so dirty and was like, let's just regulate a little bit.
Yeah, I saw
You
this.
know,
I saw this meme talking about Mother Nature put the whole world on timeout and just
right?
made everybody sit in their house and think about what they've done. So it's
Yo,
pretty cool.
that's perfect, literally perfect.
Yeah. So
But yeah,
kind of tying into your driving thing, just like traveling in general, like
yep, there you go.
doing trips to like Vegas or
We had
guess
literally planned a trip.
we had, man. And we planned it to after tax time, right? So
Right,
that we
right,
could
April.
we
Yeah,
and then now it's April, but taxes have been moved back obviously to
yeah,
July.
yeah.
So
June or July, right?
July, I think. So hey, summertime trip, I guess now.
That's what it's gonna be, man. Um,
But yeah, I mean, just like being able to travel. I mean, in general, like who would have thought that the airports and airplanes would be shut down, and who knows, how much how many of these airlines are going to be able to survive through this, and how much air flights are going to be, once everything comes back, and
yeah,
just traveling in general, being able to experience things and see all different things, and who knows how this is going to even change international travel, right?
right.
So, but I think something that was really cool that I've been seeing go around, social media is like, when everything does clear up, everybody, just vacation within the United States, to kind of help boost the economy here,
Economy,
eat
right,
at local restaurants, visit local things so that we're kind of keeping, spend everything within the States right now,
right,
this year, which I think is a really cool idea. And there's so many beautiful spots to visit in the
right,
U.S. that people don't really people take for granted or whatever the case
right.
may be. So
I hope I haven't seen any of the messaging for that, but I really hope states, federal government like starts pushing that because not everyone is as tuned into that, benefit. But again, I mean, I think there also will be less availability of things that Uh, I think the flights are going to take a while to start back up. Who knows what airlines will shut down.
sure.
And uh, also,
But
I think
luckily, I mean, usually, no matter even where you live, there's going to be something, within 2 to 6 hours that
right,
is
right,
probably like a really cool place to visit. Whether it be, for us, we have everything about, we could go up to San Francisco, down to, San Diego, to
right,
Vegas is 4 or 5 hours away. Utah's 8 hours away. So there's
right,
always like
right.
things to do driving wise too.
Yeah, man. I guess we should pick a destination then, a domestic destination for the summer.
Yeah, because think about all the industry, like the hospitality industry,
Right,
hotels, like all of these things are gonna need a big boost to get back. I know some of my friends that are in the hotel industry have been furloughed or lost their jobs because there's just
right.
nobody staying right now, and
Mm-hmm.
the restaurant industries, and just
Yep.
build that back up before, because I'm sure international travel is gonna be low too. So those tourists that are coming from overseas are probably not going to be coming
Right.
as frequent, for maybe restriction wise, but also
Mm-hmm.
financially wise. Maybe everybody's kind of not making those extravagant
Right.
expenditures. However, it doesn't cost a lot to go, locally, domestically, and just visit, Salt Lake City, or visit
Right.
Arizona, or visit San Diego. Like,
Yeah,
you're
man.
spending a few $100 to be able on a hotel room, and you pretty much got it.
Yeah. You mentioned restaurants having to survive this. I mean, I follow um like the city of Burbank's main news Twitter. It's not even if it's an official, I guess, semi-official account, and they have an ongoing list of restaurants that are still operating and
Hmm.
doing to go. It's just the small businesses are encouraged to add on their name to this list. But at the same time, every time a staple like 20, 30 year old business has actually had to shut down, they've been announcing that too. And there's been at least like five. And that's how many? It's like 2 weeks of not, provide or 2 or 3 weeks now of
Hmm.
not operating, and that's how that margin for failure is so thin for restaurant business.
Sure,
Like a couple of weeks, let alone a month, can completely shut you down.
sure,
And yeah, man, it's just that's why I guess it's very, like you're saying, it's very important to keep the currency exchange or transactions inside this in your community.
sure.
Um, and
And I mean,
even
I think
support.
Uber Eats is doing something great where they're giving $0 delivery fees if you go
Okay,
to
there it
local
is.
restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's important. I try to order in at least once a week just to like help out and all that kind of stuff.
right,
Um, Plus, it gets tiring and just eating the same stuff at home all the time.
right. Yeah, man.
But yeah,
A
man,
lot
it's
of
important to if we got it. You know, not everybody is gonna be able to afford it, obviously, but you
right.
know, if you
If you
can, you
got it,
know, put some money into the economy, help out a local restaurant. You know, there's people that survive off of tips. Make sure you're tipping the drivers and all
right.
these kinds of things because it's important because
Um,
those places that you enjoy that you took for granted, might not be there. Like you said, there's 5 restaurants shutting down. Maybe those are places that you used to go to on a regular basis that no
yeah,
longer you're going to be able to go to because they weren't able to survive through the quarantine.
right. Um, that reminds me of also another, I guess, phenomenon of people gravitating towards the Costco's and the major grocery stores,
Hmm.
Kroger, Ralph's, whatever else, Pavilions, those things. But Trader Joe's actually is up there too. That's considered very popular. So unfortunately, uh, I mean, those are staples, and they know that the demand for their stores and their goods are going to be there. The mom and pop shops are the ones who could really use our business right now,
Yeah, the corner stores.
and intuitively they have less people there, so your chances of getting infected are much lower.
Right.
uh, and it's just overall there's only benefits to that. I haven't found a good mom and pop shop around, but I haven't. Yeah, I'm just trying to go out as little as possible. But I think I'll my next trip will, I'll drive around and see if I can find one. And of course, the Daisy stores are also great to support at this time, or
Yeah.
any ethnic store, whether it's Mexican, Korean, whatever's in your neighborhood. Um, you know, because it's too easy to rely on the big names, and then also Amazon, right? The workers are working, around the clock, and it's just like it's the easiest alternative, and it's, I guess, to a degree safer too. Granted, you're wiping down your packages,
Hmm.
but uh, it's it's really isolating the money
Sure. I
and the
mean, it's
wealth.
kind of supply and demand, right? Eventually, obviously, something like that is the only thing that can stay open, I guess, and or the only way to get certain things reliable. And eventually, the economy was already going to turn that way, where people are.
On demand services,
Yeah,
yeah,
so obviously this expedited a little bit quicker, but good thing
right,
about it is those people that are out of jobs, Amazon's hiring, CVS is hiring, like a lot of these
right,
grocery stores are hiring, and they're paying at a higher clip too. So
right. It's
that's a
it's a triage, actually. That's what it is. It's like a economic triage. You know, yeah, all of these uh, specialty storefronts are gonna have to take the hit and shut down, but that's because you have to put all your
resources,
resources into the bare minimum. The things that are going to sustain themselves and be reliable.
right?
So as much as it's good nature to support a mom and pop. Uh, the fact of the matter is, if you're going to be realistic and serve the masses, like if there's no food left and we have to go to a soup kitchen for lunch, that's more functional than having like 20 Taco Bells or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
Shout out
But
to
no, I
Taco
mean,
Bell.
but it's still important. Like you know, if you can still, have your date night inside, and just
Yeah,
order in kind of thing. But yeah, on to date night, I was talking. I think just entertainment in general, like we talked about, dance clubs and stuff, but just like the comedy clubs. movie theaters, things like
Yeah, any
that.
of the
Like,
arts.
yeah,
Yeah,
man, I'm definitely excited about those opening back up, and just especially specifically comedy clubs. I could only
right.
imagine all these comedians being locked up in the house, kind of coming up with new
Yeah,
material and wanting to feed off of that energy from the crowd. I
right.
bet they're gonna be ready to work, and you're gonna see a lot of these big name comedians like be in those clubs and, right away wanting to get back out there. So it'll be a good chance to see some of your favorite comedians right off the
Right.
bat, because they're just, they've been out of that routine of doing shows
Yeah,
on a
that's a
weekly
big
basis.
breadwinner for them too. I mean,
Sure,
that's why they're literally on the road every weekend or sometimes,
sure,
throughout the week. So they're going to be hitting the ground running for sure. And even also music artists that had, concerts lined up,
right.
uh, they also rely on that's touring is the biggest source of income for a lot of artists. And um,
Sometimes the only source of income, right?
right, especially if they just have a catalog and they're, but what you know, I think a lot of artists are also developing, their new projects in the lab, hopefully.
Sure.
One thing I've been seeing, and I was gonna tune in today actually, is like these a lot of hip hop producers are doing like battles. Have you seen these?
Yeah, I have seen like the beat battles.
Right. So the last one was Timbaland and I want to say Timbaland and Scott Storch got together. They didn't really, maybe they
Wow,
battled, but they actually put a beat. They created a beat live on IG Live
that
together.
probably was sick. I didn't get to see that,
Dude,
but
I only saw a little clip and it was hard. And then Timbaland and Swizz Beats arranged for a battle that was gonna be tonight. Scott Storch versus T Pain, and apparently T Pain, he's done a lot of songwriting behind the
yeah.
scenes too. So I would have been curious to see that, but then I read that it changed and T Pain got switched out for another producer. But that was
Yeah,
supposedly going on today.
I saw another between two other producers, but I'm not remembering the names right off the bat. But yeah, I've been seeing
I
that.
think
It's pretty
Just
cool
Blaze
though.
did one not too long ago
Yeah, Just
against
Blaze.
Swizz. It was Swizz Beats and Just Blaze actually.
Yeah, that would have been a
Uh,
fire one.
yeah, man. And I think there hopefully are gonna be more. Um, and then another dude who's doing something dope, Sway from Sway in the Morning, Sway's
Hmm.
Universe. He's always big on not necessarily underground, but just kind of a little bit of underground rapping, and he loves to give new MCs opportunities, right? Not
Hmm.
necessarily, he has sometimes battle rappers, but it's mostly just like up and coming artists. And so he's been doing bedroom bars. I think once a week, he'll have people on IG Live, and then they'll just people will volunteer and they'll take turns sharing the video, and then they'll spit their bar. Sometimes they'll have groups,
Oh, nice.
and they had like I want to say like a Haitian R&B group, hip hop R&B group. It was two dudes and a woman, and they had it like the harmonies were there. They went from the rap to the singing seamlessly, and then they were just all backing each other up. It was really dope, and
Nice,
it's
man.
just crazy because they put all that energy into a little IG live. Like the video is so thin, but they packed it with so much creativity. So it's kind of wondrous how people can really like adjust. Uh, Normally, whereas you would shoot a music video or whatever. In this case, you're confining it to such a small space, but then it's still like it resonates. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
man, again, I sometimes I hate the internet, but these days I thank God for the internet.
Yeah, but
Um,
I'd still rather see it live.
of
So I'm
course,
excited about, those things opening up and, being able to do that. Um,
Y-
Another thing on my list is to be able to buy toilet paper again.
right,
Uh,
man. These
it's crazy seeing how like empty that paper aisle is, but everything else, you could buy as many oranges as you want, but you can't buy toilet paper.
yeah, man. Being from South Asia, even European countries, uh, we have usually like a water alternative.
Yeah.
So at my house we have a bidet, and if those of you are unaware, it shoots a stream of water into your butt, and
Yo,
uh,
the bidet business is gonna be blowing up after.
it should be, man, because it's a very. And then I think the old school way is like having a straight jug.
Uh,
There's just many names. I think, but yeah, man. So I think the bidet does, in my opinion, require some toilet paper because obviously the water doesn't just dry itself unless you have an air drying bidet, which I'm sure that exists. Japanese people have some good
Right.
technology.
I guess you could use a
Um,
towel.
yeah, the ass towel. So I guess it's just the quantity of toilet paper definitely goes down if you stick to the bidet. So that's my my recommendation for the United States. You guys invest in your bidets, and there's other things too. The seashells in Demolition Man, if anybody remembers.
Oh man.
Uh, that was yeah, inexplicable.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, I think it's crazy. Yeah, the need to have disposable product to whether it's paper towels, toilet paper. It's I think in I had a friend or a coworker telling me in China, paper towels are no longer in production.
What?
So yeah,
What do they
I
use?
want to say it's either that or they're like very difficult to get a paper towel. Everyone is encouraged to use just a cloth
Cloth
towel.
towel.
Yeah, whether it's cleaning a mess up or drying your hands.
Hmm.
And it makes sense because that huge population producing that much waste, like they have a pollution problem as it is,
Right.
and to do extra disposable paper product, it makes sense.
And
um
places I know, like in India and even I'm sure China and stuff, their way of life is different. Like they do laundry every single day. They cook every single day. It's not like here in the U.S. You kind of do laundry once a week, once every 2 weeks, sometimes once a month. We got dishwashers, all that kind of stuff. But there, everything's done on the daily. You only buy enough food for that day.
mm,
You don't really eat leftovers, stuff like that. That's all, kind of a westernized thing. So
right.
I think just using paper products isn't as prevalent anyways. Like I don't
Right.
even think that paper towels when I'm in India. I don't even think they have paper towels. Everything's like cloth, and they just wash everything daily kind of thing.
Yeah. I remember my last trip to, well, then again, I was staying in a hotel, so that experience is different. But yeah, I do remember seeing paper towels at my brother's hotel. But yeah, it was yeah, I remember the brand of the paper towel was like something like Unity India or something, and it had like cartoon couples all around the sides, and the couples were like representative of different places of India. You can see like the Rajasthani type faces, then you see the South Indian type faces, and then you see maybe like Kashmiri type faces. It was just really cute. So we need more unity. Um, but dude, I did see, when the emergency messaging was going out in India, certain big city borders, like between Delhi and Uttar Pradesh, people were like flocking, people who live in maybe a village in the smaller parts, and there was no like regulation. It was just crowds and
For
crowds.
sure, man. Not
And
very poor planning, but you see that here even on the beaches and
right,
I think there was even videos somebody was showing a downtown LA or like Santa Monica Boulevard
was
and
it
like the
farmers
pier.
market?
Nah,
Oh,
just like on Third Street Promenade, man. People are just walking around and just on the beach and all that kind of stuff. Just not even just acting like everything's normal. I even see on like people's Snapchat they're still going to clubs and hookah bars and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, I thought all those
hey,
were closed, but
essential activities.
yeah, some
Oh,
people aren't taking it as serious as others, I'd say.
yo, man, that's a shame. But maybe I guess people can get lucky too. But just the fact that like I was reading more or noticing more information about how long the virus lasts, and this one threw me off. I didn't really think about it, but an airborne virus, there are studies show that it can last 2 to 3 hours. Like that shit is, it's just too much. Like you would think it disappears within a minute, 2 minutes,
Hmm.
but the fact that it can potentially float or travel for 2 to 3 hours, like that is just way too long. And I'm second guessing, like if I even walk down my street, somebody could have sneezed 2 hours ago, and
Right.
that damn thing, like it's. that's a killer, man. I was shocked. Just because uh, the physical surfaces, plastics and paper or cardboard, it's tangible. You can isolate those places, but
Right.
the fact that it can just be indivisible and in the air terrifies me.
But who
But
knows how many of the germs you need to actually get, sick before your body can like.
I mean, yeah, the virus reproduces itself. So even one, I think, if it attaches, then it goes to town, man. It loves it. But yeah, man, I definitely rock a handkerchief when I go out now, or not handkerchief, bandana, same thing, I guess.
Mhm.
um, but yeah, I think that's like better than nothing, you know. And I'm sure if anybody has any cloth or scarf or whatever it is, just covering the nose and the mouth gives some peace of mind. And in our case, glasses are safety and function because it gives you some sort of filter. So yeah, man, just the more covered up, the better, you know. And you just gotta adjust. You gotta adjust with the times.
For
Can't
sure.
you can't be stubborn about the way we used to live.
And the last thing I got on my list was just like going back to work, being able to be around coworkers again. For me being out and about, being able to interact with customers face to face again.
Right,
That's like the last thing that I'm looking forward to. And obviously, when you are on the everyday battle with work, you're just like, oh man, I don't want to go to work and all this kind of stuff. But now that you're forced not to go to work, it's like,
right.
now I want to go to work, kind of thing. So, put some appreciation back into, that for me.
Yeah, I agree, man. I I mean, I generally see the same people at the office every day, but like having a reason to dress up and be presentable, and have conversations. It's definitely it's a good social habit to be in. And I saw a quote today, and it was uh, something along the lines of, um, "Don't let social distancing become emotional distancing." And I thought, damn, like
The
that's
deep
that's a
bars.
huge yeah. Shout out to the writer. Yeah, that's a huge like potentially like pitfall that can go unnoticed, right?
Sure, just
And
in general, like mental health, I think is going to be a big thing. Obviously with all the isolation and not being able to communicate with people, and you
right,
know, I think it's important that people get out, and even if they could go in their backyard or just out about, and get some sunlight into their life, and all
right,
that kind of stuff super important because um, and if you are feeling, you know, lonely, or, call somebody,
yeah,
and, text and reach out, FaceTime, like, it's really important to keep those emotional bonds there. And still, everybody's in the same situation. So, people are going to be more willing to pick up the phone and more willing to,
right.
talk and stuff like that because everybody's pretty much stuck at home,
Yeah,
Netflix
what
and
you got
chilling.
going on later on? I'll
Yeah,
be
who knows?
home. I'll be
I'm
home.
gonna be home watching Netflix. What show you on now, man? Like, what show you on?
uh,
Like,
yeah. Oh, I thought you were asking me.
no,
Okay. No, man. And here's another thing too: is this is the first time where I'm like excited for everyone's social media. Like, I'm always glad to see when somebody's posting because uh, it's forcing people to over or not overshare, but share out of necessity. Like if you're at home, there's no like amazing. Maybe if you're a great cook, you can take a picture of your meal, but
hmm
you're not gonna go to a fancy restaurant and take a picture. You're not gonna go to a beautiful, scene backdrop in some foreign place. Everyone is kind of forced to use their own mind to share things, whether it's jokes or I mean a lot of people are sharing memes for sure. Meme life is thriving, but
for
you
sure,
know, and I'm giving a lot of props to people who are just being like thoughtful and putting effort into sharing positive things, and hopefully we fall into that category for folks, because that's that was our intention, right? Oh, ignore that. There was a A drum roll. Oh, it must have been.
I think
That
it's
was
I think
art.
it's that time.
Yeah,
I think that's a
that was
great
original.
segue
Maybe the audience didn't hear, but
for our
with
favorite segment of the show, breaking good
breaking news.
news with no shot in Sunil.
Yeah, man, this is the highlight of the show.
For
Um,
sure.
and there may be others who have copied the format, but we are the originators. Let's not get it twisted. You know who you are. No names, no names. But yeah, man, I'm glad we got to the segment. Do you want to take the honors or should I?
Sure, man. I'll go ahead and start. So,
All right.
this is an article that I read off of the Good News Network. So you can find the full article at goodnewsnetwork.org. But it was a story about just a random traffic stop in Minnesota. So there was a doctor. The doctor's name is Dr. Sarot Ashfar uh, Janjua. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong,
Shout out,
but
dog.
yeah. So basically, this doctor was speeding on in Minnesota and gets pulled over by an officer. The officer's name is um, Brian J. Schwartz, so
Right.
Minnesota State Trooper. So obviously the doctor is, knows that, they're in trouble because they were speeding. So gets pulled over. Officer Schwartz, asks for license and registration. Tells do you know that you were speeding? The doctor said, yeah, I understand, and then told the story about how this doctor is actually from Boston and flies to Minnesota once a month to be able to help with the hospitals there in Minnesota and whatnot. So the officer actually lectured the doctor, saying, especially right now, it's super important for you to not be so reckless. If you were to get injured or get in an accident, you would be stealing resources from all the people that are needing those hospital beds and those doctors' times with the virus. You of all people should be more responsible with your behavior.
Mm.
So the officer went back to the his car. And so the doctor was like, "Oh man, I'm definitely getting a ticket." But then when the officer came back, he basically told the doctor, "I'm letting you off with a warning," and then handed the doctor 5 masks from the police's from his stash of masks for the doctor to use in the hospital that day.
Oh
So it
wow.
was like super cool, like to the doctor thought that they were gonna get a ticket and instead got let off, but just and then given masks because they need them in the hospitals and whatnot. So it's just a
Right.
pretty cool like gesture about
Yeah.
how communities coming together, and I thought it was a pretty important message. Definitely we need to be thinking about staying safer because any kind of injury, any type of illness that we have to go to the hospital for outside of the virus,
It's a
takes away
distraction.
resources from
Yeah.
people. So,
Absolutely,
we
man.
gotta make sure we're not doing,
Risk
stupid things to
averse.
get.
Always we got to be
Yeah,
risk averse.
exactly, exactly. So
Um,
I thought it was a cool story. Shout out to, Officer Brian Schwartz, for, doing the right thing and obviously making that doctor's day. So that was
yeah,
great.
man. That's it's a slap on the wrist, but then a cupcake afterwards in the form of safety.
So
Yeah,
what you
man.
got for us, No Shad?
Mine, I had to call an audible. Initially, I was going to share a personal interaction, but I switched the gears and I went back to the great news source, the good news. It was the Good News Network, right?
Yeah.
So they're tried and true, and they're hopefully we get a partnership with them. So my story is not really specific to any specific any place because it's happening in several. But it is another silver lining. Um, the action being taken to provide housing for homeless folk.
Okay.
Um, you know, California, SF, LA, all this major counties have been seeing huge numbers of homeless people, and uh, the fear that they would be quickly infected and spread, and they're the most vulnerable. Um, was prioritized. Their safety was prioritized. So the governor Gavin Newsom, he I think opened up 4,000 hotel rooms. So hopefully that maybe that number could be a little higher. Hopefully, but it's definitely going to help. The mayor of London, he has, I guess he's providing free housing for up to like 12 weeks, which also hopefully can be extended in case things do go longer.
Right.
So it's it's important, I think, that we acknowledge that they're humans, that their life is valued. But at the same time, it is a little troubling that you need to have something like this happen to give them the attention.
Hmm.
Uh, the social responsibility, I think, is always there. It's just the urgency is not. And so, yeah, I mean, times like these, um, it's there's a little bit of peace of mind, and hopefully those the availability of these things, and then the length of time that they're going to be available will be extended and increased, because there's no telling how long the virus will be around. But shout out to all the local governments that are providing housing, because it's like a bare minimum, and hopefully it will save lives amongst all the other things that are going on.
For
Um,
sure. For
and
sure.
once again, shout out to all the people on the front line. From the doctors to the delivery drivers to the admin people to
Grocery store workers,
grocery
truck
store workers,
drivers,
truck
police
drivers,
officers,
yeah, fire
firefighters,
department,
you know,
and even some like main financial institutions, I guess, are open. So
yeah,
shout out to everyone
banks and
taking a
stuff like
risk.
that.
Yeah, they're taking a risk by stepping outside and doing
And
doing a
also all
service.
the industries that are like, the landlords that are taking it easy on their tenants, and
Right,
all the different financial institutions that aren't pressing people to make payments right
right.
now,
90
and all
days
those types of things.
sometimes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's it's really cool to be able to not put added stress on an already stressful situation.
right.
Definitely those that are doing taking care of that, awesome for you guys to be able to do that.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, man, it's the human spirit. You can never underestimate, the compassion and the efforts. But yeah, man, this was hopefully shining some optimism for us. Things to look forward to, and it's still a beautiful world. As troubling as things may be right now.
We'll
So
get through it.
yeah, man, just gotta stay positive and stay smart. So with that being said, man, any last words, or should we
Nah,
send
man,
this
just
thing out?
we love you, and everybody stay healthy, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Right on, right on.